It's supported with quite a lot of videos, which give you a step-by-step introduction how to do it. On the end, we will also look at which service parts are required and the troubleshooting for the machines. The question, why is service important? Service on a machine is important to keep the machines to a level of which the customer received it when he first bought it. Preventive maintenance will also safeguard the quality of the steel produced by the machine. Another point is that performing maintenance once a year would in most cases be enough. When you have a high value customer who seals more than let's say 100,000 packs a year, more maintenance is recommended. How to perform the service to your heat sealers. Before you start to perform service, it's important to check the machine visually. Also, when you receive the machine from your customer, there are quite many cases that a machine arrived damaged, and then of course it's very important to make a note on the shipping papers that the damage has not occurred during your service. What is important during the service as well is to remove dust out of the machine, clean ventilators, make sure that airflow within the machine is good. You have to check for items which could have been left in the machine. What you see in a hospital is that sometimes customers seal material and some items get left in the machine. We even have needles in the machine, which can be quite dangerous when you get stuck with it. Good is to check the Teflon for damage or wear. Check the transport belts when needed. We will highlight that in a little bit later stage. Check if the black pulleys are damaged within the machine. They will also be highlighted in the video. Check the pressure on the support roller for damage. Follow the points as shown in the test protocol on the next slide. And after service, clean the machine from the outside with a damp cloth and perform electrical testing when it's requested in your area. Very important when you work with the machines, always make sure that the power is off. At some stages within the presentation, you have to put the power on to do calibration, but always be aware that you don't touch the mains. This is a test protocol we use during testing our machines during service. The resolution of this test protocol is not very high, so I will show it with Yuri after the presentation, and it gives some steps during the service which you should follow. If you follow these steps during the service, you can be sure that you that all the points which are required to the service. Then we have the parts which are subjected to wear and tear. Mainly in the machines, you have a few items which come across during regular service, which will be Teflon strips on the heating bars and the aluminium guiding bars. You have to check them for tears or wear, especially the Teflon on the heating bars. They wear quicker than the Teflons you would have on the aluminium guiding bars. Transport belt, it's an item which not necessarily needs to be changed with every service. Of course, it depends a bit on the use. You can check the timing belts. If they're becoming shiny, you know it's time to replace them. Then we have the pulleys in the machine. These are the black pulleys within the heat sealing machines. You have two on the left, one on the right bottom. The pulleys, it's not a real service item. What can happen when people seal their instruments, get into the machine and damage the pulleys? The nice thing about the pulleys is that you get quite a good view about how the machine is being used. If customers put a lot of instruments by accident through the heat sealer, the pulleys get damaged, and then you've got to prove that the machine is not handled as it should be. So it gives you quite some indication about how it's taking care of the machine. Then what is important is, of course, the pressure roller in the machine. The pressure roller eventually makes a seal after the material went through the heating bars. if the pressure roller is damaged or there's dirt on it, you will finally see that in your heat seal. So also when you perform service and you make a seal, if you look at the seal, you can see straight away actually what is going on in the machine. Here we have the first video for this training. It's how about to dismantle the machine and to reach the parts in the machines. I'm not sure if there are any questions so far. Nope. Then we start the machine or the movie.
In this video, I will show you how to replace the Teflon tape, transport belts and the pulleys. First we disassemble the hood. Disconnect the wires. Remove the element supports from the top heating element.
To release this screw, you go through the bracket of the motor assembly.
Remove the top guiding bar. Now you can pull off the transport belts. Remove the lower guiding bar. Now we can disassemble the pulleys.
Normally disassembling the pulleys is not really necessary, but in this video we just added it so you can see it. Of course you disassemble them if you want to replace them.
Unscrew the earth cable. Now you can take out the heating. You can put it in a paper towel to keep the sealer from getting dirty.
It's always a little bit messy when you take the elements out because they are full of copper parts, which is necessary. So that's why they cover it just in a piece of paper.
Remove the cables from the Clixon. Unscrew the thermocouple. And unscrew the heating element. Now you can take out the heater and also put it in a paper towel. If the Teflon tape is worn or damaged, it must be replaced. I start with the guiding bar. Unscrew the screws and remove the old tape.
And what you will see with the Teflon on the aluminium bars, you would normally see that they get damaged just by the belt rubbing over it all the time. With the heating elements, you could even see that they become a bit wide. And yeah, that's the time to change them as well, and they become porous.
It is very important that you clean the surface with a degreaser. Now apply the new tape. Cut off the excess. Puncture the holes. And put the screws back in.
Look. Seems that it's hanging sometimes, but there we go. Okay, now we follow to the next videos. It's how to change the Teflon on the heating bars. We have two videos here, one for changing the Teflon when you can take the heating element out easily. You would have in some cases that the heating element is stuck in the heating bar. That's why we added an extra video how to solve that issue so you can still change the Teflon. When the heating element is really stuck in the heating bar, it can be very difficult to get it out. And when you keep pulling on the wires, you have the chance that they snap off the heating element. So it's better to replace the Teflon as instructed in this video. When you put the heating elements back in the heating bar, it's extremely important to cover them with enough copper paste. If you would not put copper paste on the heating elements and put them back in the bars, you could see that the temperature reacts very slowly. So if, for example, you set the temperature to 180, it could reach the 180 quite slowly, then you have a slight overshoot, and then it drops again. And that's just because you would not have enough transfer of the heat to the brass bar. So that's why the copper paste is very important.
Next I show you how to replace the tape on the heating elements. Unscrew the screws and remove the old tape. Clean the surface with a degreaser. This is very important. Apply the new tape. Don't pull on the tape, just gently push it around the corner. Now cut off the excess. It is very important to use a sharp knife. Also, cut out the hole . Puncture the holes for the screws. And put the screws back.
And now the next video will show you how to replace it when the heating element is still stuck in the bar.
In case you got a heating element that you cannot remove, you can do the following. Remove the old tape. And clean the surface with a degreaser. Apply the new tape. Now you need to cut the tape in the middle. And gently fold the tape around the corner.
Just make sure that you don't cut it too deep.
Cut off any excess. Make sure to use a new knife. And then you're good to go.
These videos show how you replace some the parts again back into the heat sealer.
Put the heating back in the bar. Make sure to put some copper paste on it.
And be careful with the copper paste when
Wipe off any excess.
you got it in your clothes.
Screw the heating element back on the support. Don't forget the insulation ring.
Underneath the heating wall, there are two Teflon rings. Prevent too much heat to the machine. And also make sure that the heat element is the correct level.
Screw the thermocouple back on. Also put on some copper paste.
You can see the aluminium part, which is on top of the actual thermocouple. It's used to do the calibration later on presentation. It comes with every machine. It's one snap.
And reconnect the cables of the Clixon.
All right, in this video you will see how to refit the pulleys.
Now we can put the pulleys back on. If the pulleys are worn or damaged, replace it with new ones.
In this video, it's being shown how to refit the lower guiding bar.
Tom, there is one question from the audience.
Ah, okay. Wait, I will close this one again.
So actually the question is that what kind of pasta or paste you can use together with this?
It's copper paste. It's also on the end of the presentation, we will highlight the copper paste we use. It's a bit of the same kind of material you would use behind the braking pad in your car. But the copper paste, it's available, and we can also supply that to you. That's no problem. So question answered by that?
I think so.
Yeah, okay. I will go back to the presentation again.
Put the lower guiding bar back in its place. Note that the right side is slightly longer.
And what you also have to notice with these guiding bars, the lower guiding bars have not as deep slot as the upper ones when you reinstall them.
Pull the transport belts back on. If the belts are worn out or damaged, replace them with new ones.
Tom, there is a question.
Okay. Yeah.
So Jahan was asking that, let me see, I'm now jumping a little bit. He was asking, are the heating elements wire interchangeable?
You mean the upper and the lower ones, if they are the same?
Jahan, are you able to answer more precisely what do you mean?
I think the wire he's referring is the blue color thing.
So the two wires that you have,
Yeah.
do they go in place of each other, or there's a positive and negative on it?
No, you
They're
have.
not,
Yeah, sorry.
they are not identified. Do they go to the same place, or can you interchange them?
Yeah, if you have the PCB board, you have the green connector on it, and the first two wires of the lower or upper heating element, that doesn't matter. They are placed in there and they put in series. If you are in 110 volt situation, the wires are being put parallel. So actually, in a 220 volt situation, the elements run on 110 volts because they are placed in series. For example, for the US market, they are placed parallel, so they also run at 110 volts.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Let's have a look. Let's go again.
Pull the transport belts back on.
Let's see. Here we go to the video to refit the upper heating element.
Put the heating back in the bar. Make sure to put some copper paste on it. Wipe off any excess. Screw the earth cable back on it. Don't forget the serrated washer.
And the next video shows the refitting of the upper guiding bar.
Put the top guiding bar back in its place. Note that the right side is slightly longer. Mount the element supports with the springs back in their place. check if everything is in order. The top heating element should move freely.
Okay. Now we're getting to the next part. That's the calibration of the temperature. Calibrating the temperature will ensure that the set temperature is equal to the displayed or the temperature displayed in the machine, and also the set temperature. Calibrating the temperature is a very critical parameter, and is also described in the ISO 11672. And also the ISO standard says that you should check it on a regular basis. For the calibration of the temperature, we use a Fluke device. There are many other brands in the market. We found that the Fluke device works very well. It's very consistent. Gives a good reading. When you buy the Fluke device, you can buy a thermocouple with it, a thermocouple K. But always make sure that when you use that thermocouple, that you set the Fluke also to a thermocouple K. Otherwise, you could have wrong readings. In the next videos, it's being explained how to perform the calibration of the temperature.
Now we insert the sensor of the thermometer into the block of the thermocouple that is located at the bottom of the heating element. As an example, I will show it on a separate heating element. Make sure to put copper paste on it, otherwise you can get a wrong measurement. Now I will put it into the actual sealer.
Okay, and to perform the calibration, you have to go into a special menu in the machine. To reach that, you have to place a test jumper on the PCB board of the machine, which is shown in this video.
To be able to calibrate, a jumper must be placed on the PCB.
Now we're getting to the next video, and that's explaining how to calibrate the temperature within the machine.
Connect the power supply and switch on the sealer. Let the sealer heat up first.
Okay, this is the actual video which I just wanted to say. That's how to set the or to calibrate the actual temperature in the machine. So you measure on your thermocouple, and you want to make sure that the reading you get from your Fluke device corresponds with the reading you have in your display. When you do this, first make sure that the temperature is really settled. In this video, you can see that the service person tried to adjust the temperature, but the temperature was still fluctuating quite a lot. But he did that just for demonstration purpose, so you could see how to set the temperature up and down. We always recommend to set the temperature around 1 to 2 degrees precise.
Now we check whether the temperature of the sealer is the same as that of the thermometer. If this is not the case, we can adjust it. If the sealer indicates a higher temperature, we have to adjust the print temperature downwards. We do this by pressing count minus.
Tom,
Yeah.
there is a question. Let me find it again. It was lost already. So there is a question whether you can use infrared thermometer.
No, we would not recommend that. What you see when you measure with the infrared thermometer on the heating bar, the heat on the heating bar can vary quite a lot from the beginning, from the middle to the end of the heating bar. So that's why we put this extra aluminium measuring block on top of the thermocouple to measure exactly at that point. You could, if you find a sweet spot, but we recommend really to measure it with a wire. Also with infrared, you could easily get a wrong reading due to reflections. So with the infrared, you would normally stick something on the heating bar to avoid reflection to your meter, which in my opinion doesn't make it very reliable. To get a rough idea, yes, okay, but really to calibrate it up to a degree, we recommend to use a fixed thermocouple. I'm very happy to see, by the way, someone else is smoking. Good, I will proceed again. You still see the presentation, Yuri? Yeah, it's still on. Okay. Okay, so I will restart this again.
If the sealer indicates a lower temperature, we have to adjust the print temperature upwards. We do this by pressing count plus.
And that this screen actually comes visible when you put the test jumper on the PCB board. If you do not put the test jumper on the PCB board, you will not be able to get into this menu. Okay, we move on to the next video. So this video shows good when the calibration is done, how to proceed. And then in the following video, we also have a video of the RS300. Basically all the videos you've seen in the presentation for changing the heating elements, changing the Teflon, the pulleys, it applies for both type of heat sealers, so the RS120A and the RS300. Only for the calibration of the temperature and the pressure, there is a slight difference in between the two machines.
If the temperature is the same, the sealer is properly calibrated. Make sure you remove the jumper before you reassemble the hood.
And now we'll go to the next video, which shows the RS300.
In
this video, I show you which control to use when calibrating the temperature and pressure of an RS300 machine. First, you have to disconnect the cable from the USB connection so that the second line in the display becomes visible. Pay close attention to how the cable is connected so that you can connect it back in the right way afterwards. To adjust the base value of the force cell, use push buttons 7 and 9. With 7 you decrease the value, and with 9 you increase the value. To adjust the print temperature, use push buttons left arrow and right arrow. With left arrow you decrease the value, and with right arrow you increase the value. After you are done, don't forget to remove the jumper and reconnect the USB cable.
So with the RS300 machine, it's important that you take the connector of the USB socket of the PCB board, and that will show you both the temperature and the force in the display. Now we're coming to the next part. That's calibrating the pressure. Calibrating the pressure is a procedure which needs to be done when installing a new PCB board and as a service when requested by the customers. The calibration is done with the calibration weight, which you'll also see in the video, which will be played in a minute. For the RS300 machines, the calibration option is only shown when you disconnect the USB connection on the PCB board. So that's what I just explained. In the previous video, when you take the connector for the USB off of the PCB board, you will see the extra option of calibrating the pressure in the screen.
In this video, I will show you how to calibrate the force. First, remove the hood. I already removed the screws at the bottom. To be able to calibrate, a jumper must be placed on the PCB.
Okay, so we go to the next video.
Disassemble the transmission force assembly. Now we place the calibration tool on the force sensor.
This is also a tool which can be bought through WePack. It's a weight of 750 grams, which simulates the pressure which normally comes from the pressure roller.
Connect the power supply and switch on the sealer.
Okay. Let's have a look. So here we get the video how to adjust the 0 point. And as I said, this is normally done when you receive a new PCB board or when you replace the pressure sensor.
To enter the menu to calibrate the force, press the on button. Now we need to adjust the value of force 0 until the value of the force is 100. You do this by count plus and count minus.
The next video shows how to put back the parts within the machine.
Put some Loctite on the screw to secure it. With this curled nut, you can adjust the force.
Okay. The next part after you did the real calibration in the machine, now you have to make sure that the pressure on the pressure roller is set to approximately 102 newtons. So you did the calibration, and now you will put some new force on the pressure roller. That's where it's shown now. And by doing that, you can turn the little nut, which is here. It's a groove nut. Then you have a little screw above it that's just to fixate it after you set it to 102 newtons.
We need to adjust it to a 102 newton.
Okay, so now the pressure has been set correctly again. In this video, we show how to check if the calibrated pressure was done correctly. What you would see when you normally seal with a machine, especially while it has a vulcanized rubber pressure roller, is that there can be a slight deviation. So if the machine runs, you could see the pressure going up around 2-3 newtons, but that's perfectly normal.
Check if the force stays the same when you pull the timing belt.
Even in this part where you check the pressure, if a pressure roller would be dirty, you would see that the pressure moves a lot. So that could also be an indication to replace the pressure roller. In this video, it's shown how to fixate the adjustment screw.
Now lock the curled nut and check again if the force is still 102 newtons. If this is the case, remove the jumper and reassemble the hood.
The next part is adjusting the speed sensor. There's not very much to calibrate on the speed because the motor is a servo motor, which is just a fixed driven turning rate. What you would see in countries where 60 Hertz is used, that the speed of the motor will slightly run quicker. This has no effect to the sealing result of your pouches, but it's just something to be aware of when you measure the speed.
To get to the menu where we can read the speed, we have to do the following. When we turn on the sealer, we have to press the off button at startup. Then press on the on button until you are in the menu where you can read the speed.
Okay, so we'll go to the next video.
You can start the sealer by holding something in front of the start sensor. The speed should be 87. If not, we need to adjust the magnet in the gear. Now we measure the speed with a tachometer. The speed must be greater than 8, usually between 8.4 and 8.5. You can start the sealer by holding something in front of the start sensor.
Same one again. And here you can see how you can adjust the reading of the speed sensor slightly. You could move back and forward the magnet in the tooth wheel. It's a magnet with where one side is red. And you could adjust it by slightly moving the health sensor, which is on the little PCB board. You have to be careful as well with the magnet. If for one or the other reason you would take it out, always put it in the correct way back. Otherwise, the speed sensor would not work.
The magnet is located in the gear with the speed sensor. Make sure they are well aligned with each other. You can push the magnet closer to the sensor to decrease the value. If you push it backwards, you increase the value of the speed.
Now we made one extra section on replacing the ink cartridge for the RS300. The ink cartridge used in the RS300 machine is a ribbon cassette. Within the heat sealer, there's a dot matrix printer with 9 needles, which print through the ribbon. Of course, it's important when you reinstall the ribbon that it's done correctly. So in this video shows how to do it.
Hello, in this video I show you how to replace the ink ribbon. A new ink ribbon cassette is required when the text becomes light gray instead of the usual black or dark gray. First, disassemble the lower front cover. You do this by loosening the knurled screws. Now remove the lower front using a screwdriver. Also remove the print cover. Clean it if necessary. To remove the old cassette, you have to pull it towards you on the top sides at the arrows. Then push the cassette upwards through the hole so you can also pull the bottom out.
Quite often get a question what the left blue knob is doing. It's doing nothing. So it doesn't do anything to the adjustment or to the printing head or the print cartridge. The only blue knob which is important is the knob you see in the video on the right. That's to move the ribbon.
Now you can remove the old cassette and insert a new one. When unpacking the new ink ribbon cassette, do not remove the little plastic guide on top of the ink ribbon cassette, as this has a guiding feature for the ribbon. Tighten the ribbon of the new cassette in the direction indicated by turning the blue knob on the front of the cassette. Fit the cassette in reverse sequence. Push it upwards to the hole so that you can push the bottom back in. Now push the top part in its place. Then check that the ribbon is properly seated between the printer and the pressure roller. Then turn the blue knob in the direction of the arrow. Now you can reassemble the parts. First, push the printer cover back in its position. Now, put the lower front cover back in its place and fasten it again with the knurled screws.
Now we get to the next section. The question we had before in regard to the copper pass, you can see here it's listed out here. So really vital when you do service is to have the copper pass, the temperature calibrator, the speed calibrator, a degreaser to get dirt off the heating bars, and here you can see the calibration weight used in the videos. Here's an overview of items used for standard service. The Teflon tapes on the heating elements should actually be replaced with every service you do on the machine. The Teflon strips on the guiding bar, it really depends on how they look. If they're still in one piece, not damaged, and the Teflon still looks good, you could skip these until you do the next service. The same applies for the pulleys and the timing belt. Then we will have a look at the fault codes generated by the machine. Both the RS-120A and the RS-300 are equipped with a sophisticated system to alert you when problems start affecting the performance of the machines. In the next slides, there is a list of the failure messages you could get. First, we have a troubleshoot list here. Let's see if I can zoom in on that. Let's see if I can make my screen a little bit bigger. Let's see. Not sure if it's more clear now for you, but I think so. We made a troubleshoot diagram, and it actually starts from the top and just says, good, but what is the problem? If we start at the left, machine has no text in display, check if the power cable is connected, and so forward. So it goes from quite basic to, for example, alarm settings, and what could be the cause that you get these alarms. In the next few slides, we will go through the alarms you see. Let's have a look. This is, for example, the first alarm a machine could give. It's a failure temperature 1. This failure is caused when the machine does not show a temperature increase within the first 2 minutes after heat up. After these 2 minutes, the machine will switch off, and it shows you the message in the screen. The machine can only be reset by switching the machine off and on again. The possible causes for this to display is a defective fuse on the PCB board, a defective heating element, a defective thermocouple or loose connection, and no power output to the PCB. It's described on the right side what could be done. So a defective fuse on the PCB board, check the fuse F11 and the fuse in the power entry module. The F11 refers to the prints on the PCB board. On the PCB board, every position is fitted with a name. If one of the fuses is defect, replace them with a new one. If the fuse is defect, also check the wires of the heating elements for visual damage, which could cause a shortcut. Defective heating element, check if both heating elements are getting warm. If not, getting warm, replace the heating element with a new one. Defective thermocouple or loose connection. This can be recognized when the heating bar becomes warm, but the machine does not show any temperature increase and only shows the surrounding temperature. So if you feel that the heating bar is getting warm and in the display it still says like 25 degrees, it's very likely that the thermocouple would be broken. The solution then would be replacing the thermocouple. Then you have the no power output from the PCB board. After switching the machine on, power on J16 should be checked within 2 minutes after this. After 2 minutes, otherwise the software will switch off the heater. Check the power on this connector. That's a direct output to the heating elements. Another option which could cause this problem is a defective Clixon. The Clixon is mounted underneath a lower heating element, and there's a thermal protection when the machine becomes too hot. If this one is broken, the heaters will not give any power to the machine. Now you have alert failure temp 2. This alert message is caused when the temperature measures reached is 250 degrees Celsius. This alert is actually an extra safety because when the machine would become too hot, the Clixon already would kick in. It's actually a double protection against overheating for the machine. What you could, or how you could recognize it as well, is when the machine comes into a loop. So the machine heats up, then it stops, it cools down again, and it starts heating up. That could indicate that you have a problem here. So the Clixon will switch it off in a vicious circle. The trigger for that could be a defective PCB board. After switching the machine on, it starts heating and will not stop anymore. Most likely it would be an optocoupler, which is giving free the triac on the machine. The only solution then would be replacing the PCB board. Then we have a troubleshoot overview of failure temperature 3. This alert message is caused when the temperature drops with 15 degrees within 15 seconds. So, and the cause for that would mainly be if you have an issue with your thermocouple, like crack in the wire or loose wire. But the first one is what I just explained, a loose thermocouple connection. The second one is a defective thermocouple. This could be determined when switching the machine off and on and see if the temperature is rising. If the temperature indicates a surrounding temperature for more than 2 minutes, the follow alert will be shown. That's the alert which I explained before. In that case, we also recommend to place the thermocouple. Black display or display fading. Yeah, this would be recognized when the backlight of your display becomes dark. The main reason for that could be a defective fan or a blocked fan. To check if your fan is really broken, just measure the power output to the fan. Yeah, of course, make sure that the machine is clean and clean of dust. So that is definitely not the cause for this failure. Other thing could be is a defective display. It's very rare. Most of the times, if you have a problem with your display fading, is because of a fan is blocked or not working anymore. Then we have a seal which looks bad. There are many reasons why a seal could look bad. It's because of an operator failure or people trying to seal wrong material for the machine. Machine which is fed in wrong. What you often see is that when people have prefabricated pouches and they store it in the wrong way and they got curls at the beginning or the end, and that could of course affect the sealing quality. So always make sure that packaging material is stored in the correct way and that it's nice and flat, and that the packages are not being overpacked, which could also create a problem. Next thing could be a dirty pressure roller. So if you make a seal and you seal little spots in the seal you made, it's important to check the pressure roller or maybe the Teflon on the heating bars. Other common thing is the use of wrong material. You have some customers who have a heat sealer and think, it's a heat sealer, I can seal everything with it. Of course, that's not the case. The machine is especially designed to seal medical grade paper. So if you would like to seal bags which you use in the morning to pack your bread, they should buy a different machine. Then there is another thing that's an obstruction in the sealing area. So if you would have a jam during the sealing and a customer would pull out the material, but some material gets left in the machine, that could of course obstruct the next seal and result in a bad seal. A good thing to check it is just look in the entrance side of the machine and try to look to the end where the pressure roller is. Often when there is something stuck in there, you can see straight away, and then you have to open the machine and take the debris out. See? Then you could have a problem that the transport does not start. The transport of the machine is activated through an optical sensor at the left-hand side of the machine. When the temperature has been reached, the sensor should activate the transport mechanism. If the set temperature has been reached and the status of the machine indicates okay, the transport should start. The reason why it could not be is try starting the loose connection or wire. Try starting the machine by putting a piece of paper underneath the optical sensor to activate it. And check the display if an arrow will be displayed, which indicates the transport starts. If no error is displayed, check the wire. The optical sensor is connected with the white, black, and red wire. Make sure that these are all well connected. Could be that you have a defective optical sensor. Also, this is quite rare. The sensors are very reliable and hardly fail, but it's always an option to check. What could also be a reason why the transport is not run, it could be that the tooth wheel, which is located on the motor assembly, that the screw there would be loose. So the motor will run, but the force is not given to the other tooth wheel than to the transport belts. Another cause could be a defective PCB board. And here it's also mentioned the J14, that's also a connector on the PCB board. that you can measure if it receives 240 volts. If not, it's most likely that a triac on the PCB board is not working. Very seldom, since the first introduction of the machines, I think we maybe replaced one motor and that's it, a defective motor. Very rare to happen, but of course, it could happen. Also there, when the motor is defective, just measure if the motor is getting power. If not, then you know it's not an issue with the motor. If the motor gets power and it's not running, next thing to do is to check the tooth wheel, which I explained previously. Is that screw fixed, yes or no? When it is and the motor still doesn't run, it's advisable to replace the motor. Then we have the pressure out of range. The machine has an active monitoring for the pressure. If the pressure would be too high, depending on the set upper level, the machine will give an alarm. During the sealing, the present pressure will be displayed in the machine. The lower level is fixed at 90 Newton. What that means, when the pressure in the machine would drop below 90 newtons, the machine would stop and give an alarm straight away. If the machine would record a pressure which is higher than the set pressure, which you can set in the menu, it would also give an alarm. The upper value seal pressure set too low. That's quite a common thing. If people have the user's manual and start playing with the machine, that they see that I can change the upper level of the seal pressure. Within the menu of the machine, you can set the upper value at which the machine should give an alarm in regard to the pressure. When the machine is being supplied new, the pressure is set at 120 newtons. But if, for example, you set the upper limit to 105 newtons, the machine will give an alarm with every seal. Normally, the pressure is set around 102 newtons, which we explained in the previous video. When you seal a pouch, the pressure will increase. With a regular pouch, around to 110 newtons. So if you would set the upper alarm to 105 newtons, every time you seal a pouch, the machine will notice, it's higher than 105, so the machine will give you an alarm. Our advice would be leave the machine on the set parameter when it comes new. Wrong sealing. If a pouch is being folded, for example, so if you want to do a test with a machine and you fold the pouch a few times and then seal it, it can be that it comes over the set higher limit and the machine will give you an alarm. Another reason could be that you have dirt on the pressure roller. So if the pressure roller of the machine is dirty, you will see a jumping force in the display. So for example, from 100 up to 108 newtons. In that case, just check your pressure roller and clean off any excess dirt. Other reason could be a defective load cell. A very seldom case it could happen that the force sensor module will break down. If this is the case, it should be replaced with a new one and the initial calibration of the force should be performed. And we finally reached the end of the presentation.
Tom, there is question about the Fluke. What kind of a model would you recommend?
It's a Fluke machine. Let's see, it's still share the screen. It's also mentioned in the presentation when I go back. There it was. Here's only a picture, but in one of the first slides, the type of the Fluke was mentioned. Oh, there we are. Here you can see that's a Fluke 52-2. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the Fluke model which we recommend.
Are there more questions to Tom?
I'm very happy that it worked out well. Since the beginning, I was a bit stressy, but every time I pushed the button, my screens were gone.
Yeah. Really nice. Thank you, Tom. There is a question. What is the procedure for turning off? Oh, now I've dropped out, sorry. Just a second. Trying to see this. What is the procedure for turning off the machine while it is still hot?
There is no actual procedure for it. When you want to stop using the machine and the machine is set to 180 degrees, for example, you just switch the machine off and it will slowly cool down. The only thing what you will have with the machine when you switch it off after a day of work and then you feel the cover, it can feel quite hot. You will definitely not burn yourself. But we had some notices of customers say, oh, my machine becomes very hot. During normal operation, it's not. If you switch it off and would then feel it after 1 minute, yeah, you have some rest heat in the machine. But in general, you can just switch the machine off after use.
Mm-hmm. Right, just here in between, in case some people were joining late, and just as a reminder, this recording, it will be placed in our e-learning web portal, which can be found from STERIKIng.com. And if you don't have access there today, then please ask it from Webpack. We will allow you to have access there. And also this presentation, with videos will be there. So if you just want to jump straight to the certain slide and to the video, you can find it from our way e-learning portal. And a lot of thank yous are here in the chat box if you don't see them, Tom.
Okay.
And a lot of people saying it's great presentation and thank you for the presentation and good job and that kind of things. Now we have a question. What type are the Teflon strips? The old ones were brown, the new ones are gray.
Yeah, we decided to change the Teflon strips. With the Teflon, with the old strips, which are more brownish, and the new ones are more gray. But the old strips you could find that when sealing, that you could have a little gap in the beginning when sealing, where the pouch would hit the heating bar. That was something which didn't happen a lot, but we had some complaints on it, so that's why we decided to use a different type of Teflon, which is a little bit softer and more forgiving when you seal the pouch. So that's the reason.
Where do we find a recommended spare parts list to have in stock? So actually good question, because then after this presentation, we will be sending you the list or recommended spare parts that you should have for each sealer. And then we also sending this, the checklist that Tom was showing in the beginning, as well as the manual and the technical manual for you. And in case you don't have the price list for spare parts, we will be sending that as well to you. So everybody who was attending will be receiving that package from us, from Webpack. There are more questions. Let me see. Coming up. A lot of thank yous. Thank you very much for the valuable training program. Thank you, Tom. Good presentation. Merci, Peku, or something like this.
All right.
Hi, Tom.
It was my pleasure.
Is there somebody who wants to ask straight now? I hear somebody there.
Yes, hi, here.
Okay,
hi,
hello, please.
Thanks for the good presentation. and I have a question about the maintenance. How often should this temperature and pressure calibration be performed?
It depends a bit on the guidelines you're following. The guideline is a bit open in that it says on a regular basis. What we see, most hospitals will do a calibration on the shield parameters once a year. And if you look at the service interval of a machine, it really depends quite a lot on how the machine is used. In hospitals, we would regularly say once a year. If you go to the industry, yeah, you could have huge volumes which are being packed, and then we will recommend service on a more frequent basis.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Tom. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So first, I would like to thanks to you the valuable presentation. Thank you very much again. And my request is, how can I get this presentation and the video? How is it possible to take to us?
Yuri can explain that.
Yes, okay. So maybe I will show it again. I was showing it in the beginning, but from our internet page, STERIKIng.com, you have a link to e-learning portal, which is called Way Portal. I will show it to you. Just a second. Now it's a little bit slow, but just hold on a second. So when you go to STERIKIng.com, you see it. I hope you can see it now.
Yeah, I can see it.
Here on the right-hand corner, you have Way Learning Portal. When you click on when you click on this, it will open up the place where it's asking your password, and then if you don't have the password and the name to go in, then you need to ask that from Vipa, and we will give you an access. And once you get an access, you get here to our e-learning portal, and then in this portal you can see recordings of all webinars as well as these PowerPoint presentations. So you can download the PowerPoint presentation from there. And then, of course, this PowerPoint presentation comes together with these videos. So you will have access to those videos 24/7 any day. So if you're going to do the service, that will be helping you. And you can jump those slides which you don't need at that point.
Okay, thank you very much. Got it.
You're welcome. Is there more questions still to Tom? Now, of course, you can always send questions later on as well. If you... there is a question, do we have a service manual for the 300 model? And then answer is that no, we don't have the separate manual for that. We have, like Tom was telling, then let's say pretty much all of these steps for the basic service are very much the same, but today we don't have. That's the answer. Maybe the question could be that, is this something that is seen very important? So if that is, then you have to consider some maybe smaller volume of the service manual.
Do you really mean a service manual or like the presentation?
I would actually like to get something in the calibration procedures. I have one for the 120. Yeah. The servicing's not an issue, but it's more the calibration steps of how to get in and do the certain checks which I don't have.
Okay.
That's something that I would like, and I think everybody would be the same.
Okay, and we can look into that, Yuri, to maybe make it more understandable, because we have some steps step by step how you perform the calibration. I think this video will also help you a lot with that. It actually shows you everything from A to Z, how to perform it.
Yeah, I think that it's a valuable comment, and then maybe we will take those steps to maybe just put the instructions for the calibration into the document, like make a couple of pages of that, which will help you to do the calibration.
That would be ideal. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Is there still more questions today, or?
Because in a minute I will go and sit in the sun.
Good day. I have a question.
Yeah, okay, please.
In case of failures on the field, which we can be able to solve, there is a way to answer to you directly by email or something like that?
Well, we would like this to go actually that, again, we will send you an email, but we would like all these to go through our product manager, that we have a controlled way, that we want to see everything that is going on through the product manager at the moment. So then she's organizing the answers from Tom and the rest of the people for these questions. That's how the procedure is today. So.
No, it's okay. Thank you.
And then, of course, that if there are urgent cases or something, we can organize it that it will go that you can talk straight with Tom or something. But then normally we would like to work through the product manager, this one. And now we have new product manager, Hanna Marttila, who has just started in the product. So we will send this together with package, some instructions. Good question, actually. So we will put down some notes about that as well.
Okay, thanks for the answer.
You're welcome. Well, be brave and ask questions now if you want. So it's a good time. There's no stupid questions, really. It's really like, it's important to ask anything that is unclear. It's not always easy to understand these things. So.
And still, when there are questions, just send an email to Yuri, and we will follow up on that.
Okay, maybe no more questions today. So thank you very much for everybody to attending.